We will continue talking about diversity, and with this, we will talk about women in cycling. And who would be better to moderate this next session than the founding member of Women in Cycling and co-managing director of Velokonzept, who has recently actually been awarded with the Leadership Award by the Cycling Embassy of Denmark. I really had to drop that, dear Isabell. So please give a warm applause, Isabell Eberlein. Welcome.
So hello, I will not be by myself on stage. I invite my two great panelists, and one of them is Romee Nicolai. She's the bicycle mayor of Amsterdam, and she works as a project manager and starter of the bike kitchen at UvA. And Lovell, she's the electrical bicycle director of PeopleForBikes from the USA. Welcome, warm applause for the two of them. And if you have been following the panels before, it was much upon individuals and the individual sphere, or how we can, make an impact ourselves. In this panel, we want to focus very much on the structural level and on the structural leverages that we have. And I just told these two ladies a story of this morning because it was the leaders' breakfast. And at the leaders' breakfast 5 years ago, there were 4 women in the room, and that led to the founding moment of Women in Cycling, because we said we have to change something in this industry if out of 200 people there are 4 women in the room. This year it was 16 to 18 women in the room, so we made the number 4 times, but it was still 16 women out of 120. Is that enough? So I'm asking you, maybe I'm starting with you, Romee, and ask you, like, what can we do to really make a structural impact to make not only our sector, but also our cycling society more diverse?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's actually especially what I do as a bicycle mayor. I think the sort of bottom line is to connect local communities, because I really believe that if you encourage people from the individual level and you encourage the collaboration between the sectors, then you can actually approve something and create change. What I think is very valuable about bikes, that the bike is actually a symbol for change. You can actually see the bike as a sort of method, as a symbol how processes work. So if you connect people with bikes, then you can increase the connection between human and the environment all around us. So I think that we have to look more closely towards that individual aspect.
So the connection is also a very good point for Ash, because you have the privilege, I would say, that at PeopleForBikes you combine. So you have a great platform in the US. And would you say that connecting is already enough, or what do you think are your leverages for making the sector more diverse, or what measurements do you take in the US where we can also learn from?
Ooh, very good question. So I think connecting is the first step. The second step is allyship and mentorship.
Yeah.
So understanding that it's one thing to have women in the room, it's another thing to have women be championed by the men who are in leadership positions and give them the opportunities to be in the next room and to then speak in front of people and then to get those promotions and rise through the ranks of people that are leading the bicycle industry, bicycle advocacy, bicycle volunteerism. You need to have those doors opened for you if you are part of a group of people that is not represented currently. And so it's not just that you need a mentor, someone who can teach you what they did, because you may not be able to do exactly what they did. You have a different set of demographics, a different set of history. You need someone to champion you, to speak about you when you're not in the room and help you make that next step to be that person that can then open the door for others.
I will touch upon 2 things that you mentioned. The one is about, being championed, and also the role of men. And I also know that you, at PeopleForBikes, you run a leadership conference. Maybe you can also say about how you increase diversity there, and also how, do you oblige to some rules, or how do you really force yourself to, to work harder, maybe as the same as we do?
Yes. So I have the honor and privilege of working for the trade association for the United States. We have 320 different members in the US. It's called PeopleForBikes. Our CEO is a female, and she is amazing and opens many doors for many different people. And she had a similar experience when she started in the industry a while back of 4 women seeing that they were only 4 and saying, how do we change this? And in the 15 years since she had that first experience, every time we have a conference, our major conference is called the Bicycle Leadership Conference, we have specific happy hours and specific bike rides just for women, and they are designed to be this networking opportunity. And at the last Bicycle Leadership Conference, we had 300 women in attendance. Wait, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. Of the 300 people, a third of them were women at that conference.
Wow.
And everyone came to the happy hour, and we had to actually, every time we host these happy hours, we have to turn the men away because they are so fun, and everyone gets very jealous that, that they're not included. So we have a separate happy hour for them now. But that has grown so dramatically. Sometimes it's just about making those personal connections and understanding that shared life experience is a great way to build trust and to bond, and you have to bring more women in.
So we learned that we have to take trust and that we have to, have specific space, maybe also where we can meet, and that's probably the first step. And maybe, Romee, I want to ask you a little bit to shed light on your experience in Amsterdam, because you also work a lot with the NGO sector. Do you feel it's very diverse there? And do you feel that you also have the baseline to know where you want to set your targets and where you want to work to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Amsterdam is, of course, one of the most known bike cities, but also in leadership position. There, over the years, there is an increasing number of female role models.
You have a mayor, right? You have
I'm elected as a bicycle mayor.
But you also have the mayor of Amsterdam. She's also a woman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the mayor is a woman, the elder woman for the Department of Policy for Traffic is a woman. We recently also have a cycling professor who's a woman. The CEO of Bikes is a woman. And that is, for me, that helped through especially women from my age who feel a bit insecure about their position. That encouraged for myself to see that what's possible in the different lines within not only policy making, but also NGOs all around me. And I think to touch upon your point, for me, the human infrastructure is a sort of the baseline for that. So that means that you connect different type of people and that you create a network. And that's exactly what Bikes did. Bikes, the NGO, organizes the bicycle mayorship, and that's a network of 144 bicycle mayors all around the world. So that collective can also inspire people on a local level to build relationships with each other. And within the Bicycle Mayor network, almost 50% is also women. So it's very inspiring to be in that network.
It is, and probably maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how people in this Bicycle Mayor network get trained. How do they get access to information? How do they get access to maybe also become a leader, collect, activate communities? Maybe you can say a little bit about the programs that you're also aware of, so that others can maybe learn from the kind of support that the network offers.
Well, how you get trained as a bicycle mayor, it's just, it's a voluntarily position, so you, it depends on your individual interest, actually.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting about that is that everyone within the Bicycle Mayor network has a personal background that helps to increase their interest and helps to create that, to build up that network. So I've been asked to become the Bicycle Mayor because I started a bike kitchen, a do-it-yourself repair place at the university, and therefore I literally try to connect people and bikes and to encourage women that they are able to fix their own bike. And there you see a very interesting flip, because people walk in with a practical question about bike maintenance, but they leave the place with a feeling of encouragement, about pride and empowerment, and they feel autonomous about their own about their own skills. And I think that's the most valuable thing that I've learned.
Yes. So it's very much about knowledge sharing, Ash. And I would like to ask you the question. So both of you said they have a very fortunate situation because there's a CEO in your company. There's, you know, a lot of female leaders around you. What if the situation is not already like this? What can we do to make sure that women get into these positions? Maybe you have an idea for that.
Sure. So one major thing that we've looked at in the bicycle industry is expanding outside of bicycles and into all of outdoor recreation. So there may not be a lot of women in cycling, but there are some women in climbing and some women in boating and some women in running. And so looking at how we can do mentorship across different sectors within the outdoor industry. There's actually a fantastic group called Camber Outdoors, and they have a woman-to-woman mentorship program where you can meet with someone who is also in the outdoor industry in general and share your experience and do professional development coaching together and really form those connections that you may not have otherwise. And then that network expands and expands and expands beyond just cycling. And we know that people go in and out of these different sectors across the industry relatively frequently.
Maybe, Romee, you can touch upon the aspect in regards to political decision-making and campaigning. So how do we get more voices heard in the campaigning, in the cycling campaigning that you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, my suggestion is to encourage within policymaking to acknowledge the fact of equality of women in cycling and in mobility. Because as I speak from my perspective, that's a very underexposed topic now in Dutch policymaking. So I can imagine that we can encourage that by working collectively about making this topic more on the agenda. So not only policy making, but also a collectivity of the sector. So collaboration, and I think that can be a big improvement.
And just because we touched upon this before, what kind of data would we need for that?
Yeah. What kind of data is about the behavior of women and the feelings and recognition of women in cycling? There's now a lot of research going on a national and also on an international scale, but it didn't yet reach the policy plans. So I think if there's more an acknowledgement of the role of women in cycling, not compared to men, but just the expression of women in cycling and the equal access to mobility, I think that can really help to stimulate the debate about that. And from debate, we can learn.
And Ash, just a very short question. Do you know the percentage of women or diversity in the US cycling sector? Do you have the figures? Do you have the data? Because we are lacking that, and we want to work towards collecting that kind of data.
We are also lacking that data. It's fluid at the moment in terms of who's working in the sector, because cycling is very fluid. I will say that a lot more women have been hired recently because there's been a real push for it since 2020, when diversity, equity, and inclusion work became more at the forefront, but we don't have that data yet ourselves either.
Good. So that was a very quick run. I round this up with the last question, and I need a one-word answer. If you have the possibility to get 10 more people, 10 more women into the most influential round, a networking event, table event discussion, how do you manage to do that? One word. How do you get 10 more people in?
I would say learning.
Learning?
Yeah.
Teaching, learning?
Yeah, teaching and learning.
Yeah, teaching.
One word? That's so hard.
Tinia knows. She's already there to catch the time.
Yeah, I think perseverance.
Pardon?
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Very nice. Please, a warm round of applause for Romee and for Ash.